Chosen one, listen with your spirit. It is no coincidence that you are here at this exact moment. Elon Musk, the man who carries visions of Mars, who breaks through limits of science and technology, is mirroring something far deeper for you today. This message is not about algorithms or chance. It is heaven's hand, pausing time itself, to speak directly to your soul. Elon has something to reveal, and it is not meant for the crowd. It is meant for you, and only you. Just as he disrupts the world with hidden truths and breakthroughs, so too is God sending this revelation as a rescue mission into your spirit. That knot in your throat, that shiver on your skin, that weight pressing on your chest, it is not just a feeling. It is divine interaction. This is your sign, chosen one. A sacred confirmation that heaven has seen your hidden tears and your silent strength. Elon's message reflects God's message. You are not ordinary. You are appointed. And today, everything begins to shift in your favor. Two powerful angels have been sent by God to your place. Yes, at this very moment. To you, yes. Nor a narrative, nor a metaphor. Your name has been sealed on a genuine heavenly intervention. This is your wake-up call. Heaven has broken the normal course of your day to inform you. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You're not too far gone. Plans artfully laid in quiet. Assignments of darkness dispatched to harm you tonight. The purpose of anxiety was to make you lose your mind. The purpose of temptations was to entice your soul. The purpose of falsehoods and accusations was to break your heart. However, heaven intervened. To save you from being destroyed, God sent not one, but two powerful angels. The purpose of these angels is to save your life, not to embellish it. Are you aware of your significance to heaven? How closely does God keep an eye on you? You are marked, which is why you have suffered suffering that has no apparent cause, why you have survived what others have not, and why you feel too deep for the shallow seas surrounding you. You have been selected. Darkness is afraid of the divine responsibility you hold. Without attempting, you frighten the opponent. Hell sees what's inside of you, which is why you're fighting, hiding, and carrying rejection like a shadow. The shackles, however, are quivering today. They're dismantling the trap. You just reached a 21-minute window of mercy, and the opponent is freaking out. The chronology of heaven is triggered. Your actions in the next moments will change the environment, not just in your immediate vicinity, but also in generations to come. It is you who changes the lineage. Heaven trusted you to handle the fire. The reason you felt like you're barely crawling is because your wings have been attacked, according to Isaiah 40 verse 31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. However, the angel's wings are carrying healing. You won't simply endure or cope. You'll fly once again. Take off. I have a question for you. Have you noticed that recently it's been difficult to concentrate? How odd it has felt to be under spiritual strain. That's combat, not your fantasy. However, the King of Heaven never abandons his troops. He provides backup. That backup has also come. Listen to this if you've been feeling like giving up, wondering whether God still sees you, or wondering why you're still alive after all you've been through. For this moment, you have been preserved. This is a turning point, not the end. It is you who brings light into the dark. It is you who has interrupted hell's plan with your prayers. You're not weak. You're not too damaged. We don't forget you. You have been selected. However, this rescue involves action. It is not automated. No later. Right now. When angels are on assignment, delays may be deadly. The clock has already begun to tick. Your current actions have the power to change everything. Put 777 in the comment section below as a prophecy. Not for me, but for heaven. Let it serve as a sign for you to hear, accept, and decide to get up. You're testifying when you leave a remark, not simply typing. 777 is more than simply a series of pixels on a screen. It's a spirit world prophetic scream. This is your confirmation. It tells heaven, I accept the rescue. And it tells your future, I'm ready to walk in divine alignment. It informs every monster that sought to break you. I'm still standing. Your covenant is this. Heaven is observing. Angels are in motion. It matters what you do next. If you sense the fire in your soul, like this message, in order to prevent another person from missing their 21-minute rescue, please share it. Most essential, if you haven't already, subscribe today. For those who are called, designated, and chosen, this channel is more than just content. It is a spiritual lifeline. Now leave a comment. You have 21 minutes. This is your moment. Chosen one. It is not a coincidence. You must comprehend something right now, not tomorrow or sometime. The throne chamber of heaven has heard your name. Your name, indeed. Your name was being called in front of the Ancient of Days while you were pacing the floor, dabbing at your tears, or even numbing the pain to get through another day. This is spiritual truth. It is neither poetry nor symbolism. Heaven's tribunal is not a peaceful setting. It resounds with cries, entreaties, and rulings. Elders bow in respect. Angels move when ordered to. However, God paused everything to whisper your name in the midst of everything else. You see, some individuals are unaware of your tale and will never be able to relate to your suffering. Because you grin in public, they assume you're okay. Since you haven't cried in front of them, they believe you've moved on. Heaven, however, sees through appearances. Heaven saw the nights when the weight was too much to bear. Heaven saw the moment you were on the verge of saying, "I quit." God replied with kindness rather than retribution. The heavenly worlds do not forget you. They see you. The angels recorded it when your power deserted you. When you screamed and got no response, it wasn't rejection. Rather, it was bliss anticipating a response. It was orchestration, not rejection, that caused the delay. It's evidence enough that you're hearing this right now. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. The timing was accurate and never wrong. Your name is engraved on a holy dossier in heaven, not in ink, but in fire. It includes all of your said prayers, even the ones you forget. It bears the mantle you wear, the suffering you've gone through, the struggles you've overcome, and the blueprint for your task. Hell has been following you because of that mantle. You were destined to disrupt conventions, not to fit in. Just by being who God called you to be, you were created to reveal darkness. The assaults have been personal because of this. The conflict has been unrelenting because of this. The adversary believed he had you figured out after researching your family history. However, he didn't anticipate that you would be selected. Not because of your performance or your flawlessness, but because God recognized your yes. Picked because you never really let go in your heart. Even though your hands were shaking, you continued to hang on. Heaven respects that. Currently, a large cloud of witnesses is observing. They are aware of the price you pay to live. They've seen you standing while others perished. You were tired but never weak. Heaven is now intervening to alleviate that fatigue. Angels have been sent out with orders that feature your name. They have arrived to engage in combat, not to watch. The king heard about your conflict, and he has finally answered. This is reality in the spirit world. It is neither fiction nor religion. You're not invisible. You have a voice. You're not late, either. The opponent wants you to believe that you've squandered too much time, that you lost your opportunity, and that there is no way to turn things around. However, he lies. Heaven doesn't use earthly clocks. It uses everlasting time. What you saw as a period of inaction turned out to be a time of divine preparation. For the weight of the call, you're being fortified. The whole purpose of breaking you is to allow the oil to flow. This is the oil you carry today, the one that comes from pressure, sorrow, betrayal, and endurance, and not from books, stages, or acclaim. You paid for power in private, which is why you'll have it. You are not crazy, the Lord states in Jeremiah 29, verse 11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. You're not going overboard. Your innate spiritual sensitivity is proof that heaven has placed something profoundly inside you, not a weakness. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. You've picked up on stuff that others missed. They chuckled at stuff that made you cry. It's judgment, not emotionalism. God is now reawakening it. This is an activation, that's what it is. The angels are on their way. It has been announced by the throne. Heaven is now waiting for you to take the next step, not someone else. Your name has been mentioned. It is not lost in a sea of faces. Its ideals are not misplaced in the royal chamber. Paradise has not forgotten you, chosen one. Paradise has only just started. You have to realize how close it was. They laid the trap. It had been planned and customized just for you by the adversary. It was not innocent. The discussion you're going to have, the choice you were about to make, the stillness you were about to withdraw into. It wasn't arbitrary. It was bait. And tonight was the planned trigger time. Yes, the adversary had planned for your downfall to occur tonight. He thoughtfully covered it with ideas that were similar to your own. Maybe I'm just too much. What's the point of even trying? And similar phrases didn't merely pop into your head. In the hopes that you would agree with them, they were weaponized, whispered, and planted. The trap arrived via passivity and was not noisy. It was achieved by means of compromise. You believed no one would notice, yet came through that mute surrender. Heaven, however, took note and stepped in. God sent angels to stop you from saying the lie before your lips could agree with it. Light was sent forth before your feet could enter the gloom. You were saved from an unexpected situation, which is why you are here at this same time. In the life of the selected, there are quiet moments that are clothed in everyday clothes, yet have everlasting consequences. One of them is this. Your soul is aware of it. You can feel the weight of the conflict, even if your head is still catching up. That's because the adversary despises the fact that you have reached a holy crossroads. This was not meant for you to hear. It was not intended for you to halt. It was not intended for you to notice the pattern. However, something inside of you resisted. The beat was broken by something inside you, allowing God to deliver a message. You were called back by something that was your anointing. Recognize that not all attacks result in catastrophe. Some serve as a diversion. The opponent only asks you to drift gently. He doesn't always push you down. He gives you an almost accurate picture of life, but is completely incorrect. And if you accept it, you fade rather than collapse. However, God said no. You still possess too much light, too much purpose, and too much destiny. It was interruption, not survival, that led to your rescue. Heaven put a stop to your course, which would have led to compromise. You can't go back now. This is your chance to disagree with the untruth. Pay attention. Smallness is not where you belong. Fear is not your place. Cycles that keep you subdued, invisible, or perplexed are not for you. You are meant to ascend. You are destined to say words that change rooms, upend lineage patterns, and rock countries. The reality remains the same even if you haven't seen it yet. Heaven just turned the page on the early ending that the adversary attempted to write. You have to answer now. Let the spirit world see your reaction by leaving a comment that reads, I hear you. You are listening with your spirit as well as your ears. I hear you is a proclamation in its simplicity. Sometimes awareness is all that is needed to thwart an assault. It tells God, I'm listening. I'm not brushing this off. I receive the warning. It tells darkness, I see the trap now, and I refuse to walk into it. And now you know. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. The lie, the compromise, the passive agreement. You see it. It's coming to light. The whispers the adversary sought to use as permission slips to access your destiny, where that connection you knew wasn't healthy, that opportunity that shone but didn't seem right, and that inner promise you made in agony, such as, I'll never trust again, or I'll just stay quiet. However, you're now canceling them. Even while it can seem like you're merely typing onto a screen, in the world of spirit, your rejection has authority and your agreement has force. This is what Jesus came for. To live fully, to walk with pleasure, not numbness. The Bible states in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. With fire, not fear, with clarity, not uncertainty. Therefore, avoid going back to sleep at all costs. You have to stay clear of the trap now that you've spotted it. You have to respond now that the Spirit has called your name. And basic obedience is the first step in that response. Say something like, I hear you. Then act accordingly. Move like it or not. Because the angels are watching over you to make sure you have space to comply when God speaks. 21 minutes of heavenly clarity have been granted to you. Now you're in it. Don't squander it. The trap is now visible. Your next step is more important than you think, and the angels are close. Say, I hear you. Allow your affirmative response to reverberate beyond the algorithm's selected response. The temptation seemed so powerful for a reason. It arrived in the appearance of relief, oozing with reasoning, and wrapped in comfort for a cause. What you almost grabbed for, what you were ready to accept, wasn't just bad, it was poison. The adversary never starts with his worst. He presents the pit in its most appealing form. The smooth-looking drink, the affirming words, the stillness that seems more comfortable than conflict, the chance that plays on your insecurities, the click that offers relief. However, there was bait behind the screen, the moment, and the joy. And your name was on that bait. It's because you're being targeted, not because you're weak. You're being tempted because you are carrying something sacred and deadly to the realm of evil, not because you are failing. Hell tailors the offer because of this. Which is why it feels so intimate. If someone has been set aside, do you really believe the adversary will squander a generic trap on them? No. The bait is crafted to evoke your traumas, proportioned to fit your history, wrapped in sentimentality, and delivered in tones that evoke healing, liberation, or closure. However, it isn't any of those things. A chain is only waiting to become tighter. It would have started if you had said yes, even if you didn't say it. Sometimes it begins as permission to lower your standards, permission to keep your voice quiet, rather than sin, permission to let go of your hopes, your longing, and your heart's protection. The adversary puts the seed there, and it will develop into disaster if you give it water with your silence. However, heaven stepped in. The selected have moments in their life that change history, not because they do something significant, but rather because they choose not to do something little. Tonight, you declined. Even before your body obeyed, your soul fought. The Holy Spirit was drawing your hand back from the edge, not your conscience, which is why you felt that hesitancy, that inner check, and that unexplainable weight. You avoided not only an error, but also a setup. Without a doubt, what you almost grabbed would have made a difference. It would have clouded your judgment. It would have made your calm more difficult. It would have allowed shadows to enter. What God has previously verified over you would have been called into doubt. Since it obscures what was previously clear and causes you to forget what you knew in the light, that is what it accomplishes. Distraction is more important than guilt. The opponent just wants you to go off course. He doesn't need to destroy you. And he came really close. How close it came is what makes this moment so terrifyingly beautiful. One affirmative step away. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. A single message was sent. One door opened again. You're still here after one night of just this once. Your vulnerability and demise were separated by the angels. You were ready to open the door when mercy stopped it. And now you recognize it for what it was. Not liberation, but imprisonment. Not solace, but concession. Not recovery, but postponement. You have regained your sight. Heaven has been pursuing you so persistently for a purpose. When someone isn't carrying fire, God doesn't squander his divine warnings. You're not as normal as you may believe. You possess traits, abilities, phrases, and designs that have the power to demolish strongholds. What's inside of you is still unknown to you. Darkness, however, does. The assault occurred for that reason. The offer seemed so innocuous because of this. The adversary will attempt to tame you if he is unable to kill you. He will also attempt to deceive you into self-destruction if he is unable to control you. Tonight was a setup for you to violate your own future. That's what it was. However, it is no longer the case. You did not get anything from heaven that you almost touched, accepted, or allowed. It was poison. Furthermore, poisoning doesn't necessarily result in death. It may sometimes destroy your voice. It sometimes robs you of your happiness. Occasionally, it destroys your standards. And whatever else comes after that's dead. You were made to carry divine fire, not to live a diluted life. You were intended to dwell at the feet of the King, never at the mercy of your feelings. Heaven fought for you tonight because of this. Because you were called, not because you were flawless. Heaven intervened. In chapter 14, verse 12 of the book of Proverbs, the Bible states, "And suddenly a holy terror settles, a respect for what almost occurred, a conviction that this life, this calling, is not a game. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death." You are implementing divine military strategy, and every action counts. You are not just attempting to be a better person. You were supposed to be numb by the poison, but suddenly you're conscious. Leave it without feeling bad about it, without giving an explanation, and without saying sorry. Go back to your altar and leave the offer on the table. Heaven choose you instead of the trap. Return to paradise, chosen one. It has never been an easy fight for your life. You must realize that the use of angels by heaven is never symbolic. Rather, it is a kind of combat. The angels sent for you were intended to protect you, not to console you. Instead of lights, they were brandishing swords. This is prophetic rather than lyrical. Not only are you being supported, but you're being protected. The battle for your soul, your decisions, and your purpose is real. And heaven doesn't take it easy. You shouldn't be either. You have warrior angels dispatched to you tonight, armed with power and driven by a singular goal. They stand in submission to the Most High in order to make sure you make it through this chapter and begin your task. They are fighting, not observing. Hasn't the adversary been applying more pressure lately? The bewilderment, the unexpected emotional outbursts, the merciless tugging on your soul, the senseless exhaustion. These indicate resistance. Resistance from the darkness that senses your impending breakthrough, rather than weakness. Hell has been watching you. You never know when you're getting near to your edge. It becomes loud at that point, but the noise in heaven increases. Angels are now stationed all around you, acting on the Father's orders to silence falsehoods, protect your thoughts, and drive back the spirits sent to bring you down. You are responsible for the hidden action that is taking place. You're not renowned or perfect because of it, but because to your faithfulness. Because instead of lying down, you continue to stroll. Even though you may not have seen or experienced them, you have endured hardships that no one else could have, yet you are still here. Is it a coincidence, in your opinion? Psalm 34, verse 7 states, "The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." These angels are stationed and specifically allocated to you, chosen one. While heaven awaits your next act of obedience, they're keeping the line in place. You are never meant to fight this battle alone, so you don't have to. In this war, you are encircled, not left alone. You're protected. They see you. Even now, swords are drawn to defend you. So take a moment to think about this. It's not chance. It's divine orchestration if this message reached you and it sparked something deep within of you. It indicates that God is still in control of you. It indicates that the rescue effort is actual and taking place in real time, not just a notion. You have been pulled to this time for that reason. Therefore, make today the day you begin to see these interactions as tasks rather than recommendations. It's time to go forth into what heaven has in store for you if your soul is stirring and your heart is being awakened. And pay attention. If you're receiving this message, it's likely that someone else is as well. Therefore, don't let it end with you, such as this message, not only because you agree, but because you're aligning yourself and accepting God's call in your life. Give it to another person. Give it to someone who is silently going through hell. They too need to know that angels are coming to save them. They could be saved by this message. Additionally, subscribe if you haven't already. This place is a lifeline, a stream of conviction, clarity, and fire to keep you rooted when everything else is attempting to drag you back under. Not because of a number. Keep in touch. Remain alert. Continue to eat. Keep up with the flow. Heaven is in motion. You're getting more than just words. You're getting weapons. In your soul, every truth you accept turns into a weapon. Every falsehood you deny closes a door. That's what this is. Instruction, not inspiration, but spiritual strategy. As you move, as you give up, as you obey, the angels are moving too. You're an important part of God's plan. Therefore, you're not playing a passive role in this battle. And the whole environment around you changes the instant you stop questioning. Thus, keep in mind that you are not a burden. You're not in the rear. You are not irreparably damaged. The angels pulled out their swords tonight because of you. This is the moment because of you. And you're not done with heaven yet. Angels are sent by God to protect his chosen ones, those whom he cannot let go. One of them is you. Time is not standing still, chosen one. This miraculous moment of intervention, the 21-minute window you have been granted, has already begun. Mercy is here, and the countdown has started. Mercy, however, is not patient. You are residing inside a holy pause, a heavenly pause that is intended to awaken your soul before the gate shuts. This is meant to sober you, not to frighten you. Heaven functions according to time rather than panic. Angels have been unleashed by God on your behalf, but not permanently. Your answer is related to their task. Your agreement is that crucial. That is the true force of your obedience. You see, every moment matters in the spirit. There are consequences for every hesitation. What seems to you as a time of uncertainty turns into a gateway that is held open in the heavenlies or that gradually starts to shut. That door is open at the moment. The angels remain at your side, their swords out, waiting for you to move, speak, give up, or take action. Indeed, significant changes in the spiritual realm may be triggered by even the slightest act of agreement in the natural. Don't be fooled by how simple this moment is. This is about connecting your heart with heaven's rescue, not about entering a number. It was so near you don't know. If God hadn't stepped in, you wouldn't know what was in store for you. The heartache you would have experienced, the phony relationship you were about to put your confidence in, and the silent but deadly compromise that would have infiltrated. It was going to feel justified. It was going to look wonderful. However, its purpose was to rob you of your power, erode your judgment, and slowly guide you back into the dark. God, however, said no. Not now. Not you. This warning is being sent at a strategic moment, not at random. And God expects the same of his chosen when he employs strategy. In other words, you don't wait. You don't speak to yourself incoherently. You don't justify the caution. The angels don't wait forever, so you answer. They pay attention to what the Lord says. And they return to the throne when the window of opportunity to make a choice closes, not because they failed, but because you froze. And heaven will respect your decision if that is what you decide. Obedience is not always explosive. Choosing one, if you hear this and your soul is aroused, remark the number 444. Sometimes it's as easy and holy as inputting a number that signifies your yes. This number is movement, not magic. In the digital desert, it's your voice saying, I hear you, Lord. I agree. I choose alignment. I choose obedience while mercy is present. Your prophetic deed, a reply from your soul informing heaven that you are not dozing off behind the wheel, is comment 444. You're on guard. You know, you're in agreement. Right now, the number 444 represents angelic protection, heavenly order, and prophetic harmony. It implies that what seemed to be chaos is now becoming clear, and that what looked to be devastation is now being rebuilt according to the plan of heaven. That angels are operating, not only observing. God is arranging things for you. He is restoring boundaries that have been crossed in your life. He's shutting doors that you couldn't close on your own. He is removing those who were sent as disguised diversions from your surroundings. He's bringing your mission back to life, but it needs your cooperation. Avoid being passive. Delays run the danger of hardening. The sound becomes weaker when conviction knocks and no one answers the door. And darkness is once more comfy when that sound subsides for a sufficient amount of time. However, God sent you those 21 minutes for consecration, not for consolation. There is yet time. The window still contains you. However, the weight of eternity becomes heavier with the moment you wait. This is love with a caution. It is not legalism. We adore you very much. However, love is honest. And the fact is, you have to respond. You are hearing his voice, according to Scripture, which states in Hebrews 3:3:15, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." Not mine. It's interaction, not emotion, that pull in your soul, that constriction in your chest, that feeling that this is more than just material. The Father is reaching for you there. Before the time runs out, it is the Father reaching for you. Are you going to answer? Now, type 444. Allow it to reverberate throughout the environment. Not later, not when it's safer, but right now, let it commemorate the moment you said yes. Allow each demon that has been assigned to delay you to see the number and shudder. Allow the angels to observe it and adjust their posture accordingly. Your signal is what heaven is waiting for. You have time left, so choose one. This is a moment about your ancestry, not simply your life. Beyond your own suffering, there's more weight to what you are going through right now, what is pushing on your chest and soul. It's ancestral. This is a generational issue. You are being opposed not just for your own future, but also for what you stand for those who came before and those who will come after you. Most likely, you've experienced it your whole life. You've experienced the unseen pressure, the feeling that you weren't part of the dysfunction around you and that you were somehow different. Addiction, silence, poverty, secrecy, and humiliation are cycles that you may have seen repeatedly as a child. You saw individuals living with broken silences, normalizing agony, and surviving without recovery. Something inside of you refused to accept what other people referred to as normal. And you said, "This cannot continue." And that something was heavenly defiance, not rebellion. The first person in a lineage to overcome the constraints placed on others was marked by the fire of heaven. It's purpose, not pride, that makes you fight and refuse to accept what shattered others. And since you were young, the adversary has seen it. That's why you felt that those closest to you didn't understand you. Why? Even when you made an effort to be silent, you were projected upon by others. The reasons for your unjustified rejection and exclusion. It's not that you're difficult to adore. Rather, it's that you're difficult to classify. You were always supposed to shift, not fit. Before you arrived, some spirits had been at ease in your family line for many generations. Spirits that were allowed to roam freely by suffering, mistreatment, silence, and concealment. Then you were born, a soul that defied expectations, a light-bearing heart, a mind that posed questions that others were unwilling to express. You've been assaulted, of course. You obviously had to deal with more than others. You have undoubtedly wondered whether there is a problem with you. However, there is nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. Hell-shaking stuff. Something that annoys the dark. The kind of stuff that makes old fortifications tremble. You are the confrontation of generational grief, not its victim. You were selected to shed the family's burden rather than bear it. To reveal what was concealed, to shatter what had been handed down in silence, to express what others were too scared to. And war brings that. There's pressure involved. There may be times when you feel alone, misunderstood, or even assaulted by the individuals you're trying to reach. Even assaulted by those you're attempting to free. However, do not allow it to cloud your work. You are here to set people free, not to win their approval. Deliverance might sometimes take the form of establishing boundaries rather than exorcising demons. There are moments when it seems like leaving what everyone else accepts. There are moments when it seems like you have the guts to say what no one else will. And the darkness shudders when you do it. Resistance will also be there. However, since individuals often defend the systems that keep them alive, even while those systems are gradually destroying them. You are here to heal, to create, to repair. You are not here to survive. To break the pattern, you are placed into the line. So, it's not only about what you're dealing with if you've been experiencing spiritual strain recently. It concerns what is attempting to prevent you from becoming. Inheritance conflict is indicated by symptoms like anxiety, attacks, incomprehensible exhaustion, and combat in your dreams. You're closer than ever to truly embracing your vocation, which is a sign that something old is in danger. The enemy's objective is to numb you, not merely wear you out. To make you accept the falsehood, to convince you that your voice is irrelevant, that things will always be this way, and that the cycles will carry on whether you are around or not. However, that is untrue. The interruption is you. Scripture states in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 22, verse 30, I looked for someone among them who would build up the wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land. You are the no more. It ends with me. But I found no one. Heaven, however, found someone this time. You. The person standing in the gap is you. God trusted you to bear this mantle, to stand when others stooped, to speak when others remained mute, to confront what others ran away from. And the skies are looking on, not in condemnation, but with respect, because hardly many people are prepared to bear what you have agreed to. You're waking up your line, not going crazy if you choose one. And chosen one, everything is about to change. Heaven has heard all of the things that have never been spoken aloud. God was listening every time you sat in silence, every time your heart broke softly in front of a large group of people, and every time you swallowed your questions out of fear of being seen as too sentimental, spiritual, or profound. No cry is too loud for the Father to hear. No sigh that is missed, no tear that is not seen. You've mastered the art of bearing the burden without grumbling. Weakness makes others uneasy, therefore you've disguised your power. You are now the one who breaks in secret and gives others encouragement. You've improved at it. So wonderful that the pressure under your surface is invisible to even those closest to you. Heaven, however, has never been duped. God counts your tears in addition to your achievements. He presents them as prophecies, proof, and testimonies. The burden you bore was intercessory, not just emotional. You have been crying for things that are beyond your comprehension in addition to your own suffering. It's spiritual, that weight in your chest, the inexplicable anguish, the abrupt, overpowering sensation of sadness. Even if you were unaware of it, you've been standing in the gap. You were really breaking through, even if you felt like you were crumbling down. There are times in the selected person's life that are so deep and precious that words cannot adequately describe them. All that's left is a scream, a moan, and a silent prayer in the darkness. The things that move heaven the most are those moments. When you showed up, even though you had nothing further to say. When your spirit reached, even when you were too weak to pray. You offered those tears, and they weren't in vain. You may believe that no one is aware of what you carry, and you are correct. The majority don't. However, God does. He wants you to continue walking with Him in faith, not to justify yourself to the world. Even when the evenings are too long and your spirit feels exhausted. Even if your feelings turn against you. Because you're holding something valuable. And heaven uses fire to protect what is valuable. The conflict has been so fierce because of this. The sadness seems greater than it should because of this. Because it needs depth to be born through you. And only when suffering is given over to purpose can depth be achieved. You are mourning spiritual alignments, not simply shattered friendships. Your mission was no longer fulfilled by the spiritual alignments you were mourning. Not only were you upset about being misinterpreted, but you were also letting go of the version of yourself that required approval from others. You were letting go of what used to function, but is no longer able to sustain you. Not merely lamenting seasons that have passed. They were holy tears. They were cleaning. They served as heaven's method of preparing the ground for the impending blossom. And blossom you must, because a fresh burden of splendor follows each season of mourning. God never fails to provide His injured people with restitution. Heaven was at work the night you sobbed yourself to sleep and felt nothing react. Heaven was watching while you stood in the restroom, looking into your own eyes and questioning if you had any more strength. God, I don't know how much more I can take. You said, and angels were sent forth that day, not out of sympathy, but out of intention. Revelation 7 verse 7, verse 17 states, and God shall wipe away every tear from their eyes. God does more than just gather your tears. He wipes them away. Thus, they were never intended to permanently discolor you. They were intended to cleanse, soften, and arouse you. And that time of solitary prayer is now turning into a time of outward validation. Heaven hasn't forgotten about you. Your screams were a language more profound than words, and they went further than you realize, into the books of your destiny, into the courts of heaven, and into the moment of your deliverance. No prayer list could ever unlock what their screams did. They were unadulterated, sacred, and primal. And God answered in a calculated manner rather than in silence. Heaven wrote triumph in your name each time you broke covertly. Doors started to move. The chains become weaker. The rescue was planned at the height of your suffering. It wasn't postponed. Your screams were summonses, not marks of weakness. Call for the migration of angels. For divine timing, call forth. Calls for a breakthrough that is specifically tailored to your soul. You don't need to tell everyone about your suffering. Continue to allow God to transform it into strength. Your tears were planted, not squandered. And now, selected one, your harvest is almost here. It's time to confront the agreements as well as the pain and weight. Silence is not neutral in the spirit world. Rather, it speaks. Additionally, a lot of the conflicts you've been in recently began with agreement rather than an assault. You may have agreed to something that wasn't from God at one time out of weariness, perplexity, or pain. Not allowed all the time. That, yes, might be silent at times. You didn't question that idea. A murmur that you let remain. A story that became ingrained in your thoughts and encountered no opposition. The opponent just needs that. An uncontested whisper turns into an accord that unlocks a spiritual portal. And conflict may readily enter once the door is open. You didn't intend to accept it. You didn't believe that you were in agreement with the dark. You were just worn out. I'm sick of waiting. I'm sick of wishing. I'm sick of hearing empty promises. Yes, but they weren't thoughts. You said things like, maybe I'm not called, or maybe this is just my portion, or maybe I'll just live quietly and not stir anything. They were invisible agreements, commitments. And the enemy entered your land as soon as you welcomed them. He was not entitled to make a claim. The pressure increased as a result. You started feeling hazy, heavy, unsure, and out of harmony as a result. You were misaligned, not because you were failing. Here's the reality, however. One holy no can bring alignment back. You just need to violate the contract. A ceremony is not necessary. You don't have to speak flawlessly. All you have to do is give it up. Let's call it that. Put in the spotlight. Perfection is not necessary for heaven. Truth is necessary. And truth is growing in you today. You're trapped forever, according to the lie. Shatter it. You missed your moment, according to the lie. Shatter it. God is done using you, the falsehood said. Shatter it. According to the falsehood, you were disqualified for your faults. Shatter it. You're too emotional, too sensitive, too much, the falsehood said. Shatter it. You'll never be loved the way your soul desires. You should dispel the untruth. These are hardly innocuous ideas. Before healing can truly take hold, these spiritual illnesses need to be removed. Your potential does not frighten the opposition. Because he knows you still have power, he fears you. You cannot accept loss in silence and shoulder the burden of fate. You can't whisper dread and walk in flames. It's not judgment. Alignment is all that is required. God's opinion of you hasn't altered. He won't take away your free will, however. You have to decide whether to break what you've permitted. You may openly say, I break agreement right now and now. Predictively type it. Let heavens document it. Let the darkness hear it. Allow your spirit to sense it. Declaring those 4 words is more than simply typing. You're cutting. You are retracting the accuser's statements. The falsehoods that attempted to define you are being broken by you. How long ago the arrangement was made is irrelevant. It can have been a whisper in your early years, a traumatic event that influenced your religion, or a failure that changed your perception of yourself. It makes no difference. Your reaction is now what counts. Because you won't carry over what you break today into the next. Dismantling arguments. You're doing exactly what the Bible says in the second epistle to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 5. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Arguments in your head, agreements in your soul, and pretensions that were inherited are all being destroyed. This is where it ends. You weren't made to endure silent suffering. You were not selected to live a life of silence. You are called to flame with righteousness, love, and clarity. And the shackles have to come down for it to occur. The falsehoods have to end. You have to break the agreements. Emotional hype is not what this is. This procedure is sacred. You're not alone, either. With your declaration, the angels you were given are already in motion. They enforce it when you say, I break agreement. Heaven awaits the occasion. You utilize your voice for more than simply worship or crying. You use it to wage war. And this is battle, right here and now. So say it. Make a declaration. Put in writing. Make it known everywhere. Darkness is no longer in harmony with you. Entering a state of clarity. Selected one. Take a time to think about this. You just shattered something. You indeed. Not by coercion. By truth, not by performance. Heaven took it seriously, too. Angels moved when you breached the pact. The environment changed around you. Your soul started to feel lighter. You finally connected with freedom, not because you earned it. You can't fight for freedom by yourself. You inherit freedom, and heaven upholds the truth the instant you reject the falsehood. The next phase, however, is now. Expand on your recent breakthrough. You don't just ignore dishonesty. You enter a state of clarity. Saying no to the adversary is not enough. You respond positively to God's voice. And that, yes, is no longer a whisper, is no longer concealed. It's open to the public. You can see it. It's living. The adversary thought you would never believe it, but here is your chance to do it. That someone phoned you. You're protected. Additionally, supernatural momentum is carrying you. What's stirring inside of you right now? The burning sensation in your chest. That shudder in your soul. It's not feeling. It's an indication. You are awakening from a spiritual slumber. You're discovering your true self. God would not allow the one who was marked, the one who was chosen, to fall into the shadows of compromise. It's time to get up now. Selected one. It is not necessary for you to conceal at the rear of the room. For your wisdom, your passion, and your clarity, you are not supposed to apologize. The same thing that God is going to utilize to restore damaged regions is what was previously rejected in you. You have escaped strikes that were never intended to end. You survived storms that failed to warn. You carried emotional burdens that others were blind to. You still have brightness in you. That isn't typical. It's not typical. It's a favor. And the favor is starting to show. People will start to wonder what went wrong. They'll notice a change in your demeanor, your calm, and your speech, and they'll want to know why. Prepare to say, God intervened. I violated our deal. He aligned. I accepted. Heaven reacted because your narrative may include a rescue of someone else. Your yes has power. Chosen one, let's make something clear. The intensity of your journey has never been a reflection of your weakness. It has been a sign of your weight. You carry something, and because of that, you've been met with resistance far greater than most. While others coasted, you've been climbing. While others drifted, you've been battling. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're carrying something right. You've been marked not for survival, but for authority. And when someone carries a spiritual authority, the battle starts long before the platform ever appears. The refining comes before the release. The fire comes before the favor. That's why it's been so hard. That's why it's been so lonely. That's why the warfare has felt so personal. Because it is personal. Heaven knows your name, but so does hell. And hell doesn't fear crowds. It fears those who are consecrated, those who walk quietly with God while everything around them screams for attention. Hell fears those who are still soft in spirit after surviving hard things, those who carry oil not because they learned a script, but because they walk through wilderness. That's who you are. You've been misunderstood because you see things others don't. You sense the shift in a room before anyone else speaks. You feel spiritual movement, spiritual pressure, spiritual weight, and sometimes that discernment feels like a curse. But it's not. It's a gift, a sign that God has trusted you with sensitivity because He plans to use you in strategy. Others can sleep through the storm. You wake up. Others can tolerate compromise. You get grieved in your spirit. Others can live deluded. You feel the pull to separate. That doesn't make you judgmental. It makes you called. The deeper your calling, the greater your tension. And right now, You're living in the tension between what was and what is coming. You can feel it, can't you? That unsettled space, like something is shifting but hasn't fully revealed itself yet. You're not where you used to be, but you're not fully where you're going, and it's frustrating. Sometimes it feels like failure. Sometimes it feels like you're being punished. But the truth is, you're in transition. And transition is always messy. It's the hallway between obedience and outcome. The space between surrender and reward. It's where your motives get purified. Your pace gets adjusted. Your faith gets tested. And in this place, it can feel like God is silent, but He's not. He's watching, measuring, strengthening, reordering things in your life to prepare you for the next level. If you were being forgotten, the fire would have stopped. But it hasn't. The pressure proves the process is still active. The opponent also whispers his favorite falsehoods during this strain. This is pointless. You're making it all up. You've missed too much to catch up. Everyone else is moving forward, but you. Dismantling arguments. You're doing exactly what the Bible says in the second epistle to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 5. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Arguments in your head, agreements in your soul, and pretensions that were inherited are all being destroyed. This is where it ends. You weren't made to endure silent suffering. You are not selected to live a life of silence. You are called to flame with righteousness, love, and clarity. And the shackles have to come down for it to occur. The falsehoods have to end. You have to break the agreements. Emotional hype is not what this is. This procedure is sacred. You're not alone, either. With your declaration, the angels you were given are already in motion. They enforce it when you say, I break agreement. Heaven awaits the occasion. You utilize your voice for more than simply worship or crying. You use it to wage war. And this is battle, right here and now. So say it. Make a declaration. Put in writing. Make it known everywhere. Darkness is no longer in harmony with you. Entering a state of clarity. Selected one. Take a time to think about this. You just shattered something. You indeed. Not by coercion. By truth. Not by performance. Heaven took it seriously, too. Angels moved when you breached the pact. The environment changed around you. Your soul started to feel lighter. You finally connected with freedom, not because you earned it. You can't fight for freedom by yourself. You inherit freedom. And heaven upholds the truth the instant you reject the falsehood. The next phase, however, is now. Expand on your recent breakthrough. You don't just ignore dishonesty. You enter a state of clarity. Saying no to the adversary is not enough. You respond positively to God's voice. And that, yes, is no longer a whisper. It is no longer concealed. It's open to the public. You can see it. It's living. The adversary thought you would never believe it, but here is your chance to do it. That someone phoned you. You're protected. Additionally, supernatural momentum is carrying you. What's stirring inside of you right now? The burning sensation in your chest. That shudder in your soul. It's not feeling. It's an indication. You are awakening from a spiritual slumber. You're discovering your true self. God would not allow the one who was marked, the one who was chosen, to fall into the shadows of compromise. It's time to get up now. Selected one. It is not necessary for you to conceal at the rear of the room. For your wisdom, your passion, and your clarity, you're not supposed to apologize. The same thing that God is going to utilize to restore damaged regions is what was previously rejected in you. You have escaped strikes that were never intended to end. You survived storms that failed to warn. You carried emotional burdens that others were blind to. You still have brightness in you. That isn't typical. It's not typical. It's a favor. And the favor is starting to show. People will start to wonder what went wrong. They'll notice a change in your demeanor, your calm, and your speech, and they'll want to know why. Prepare to say, God intervened. I violated our deal. He aligned. I accepted. Heaven reacted because your narrative may include a rescue of someone else. Your yes has power. Chosen one, let's make something clear. The intensity of your journey has never been a reflection of your weakness. It has been a sign of your weight. You carry something, and because of that, You've been met with resistance far greater than most. While others coasted, you've been climbing. While others drifted, you've been battling. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're carrying something right. You've been marked not for survival, but for authority. And when someone carries spiritual authority, the battle starts long before the platform ever appears. The refining comes before the release. The fire comes before the favor. That's why it's been so hard. That's why it's been so lonely. That's why the warfare has felt so personal. Because it is personal. Heaven knows your name, but so does hell. And hell doesn't fear crowds. It fears those who are consecrated, those who walk quietly with God, while everything around them screams for attention. Hell fears those who are still soft in spirit after surviving hard things. Those who carry oil not because they learn a script, but because they walk through wilderness. That's who you are. You've been misunderstood because you see things others don't. You sense the shift in a room before anyone else speaks. You feel spiritual movement, spiritual pressure, spiritual weight, and sometimes that discernment feels like a curse. But it's not. It's a gift, a sign that God has trusted you with sensitivity because he plans to use you in strategy. Others can sleep through the storm. You wake up. Others can tolerate compromise. You get grieved in your spirit. Others can live deluded. You feel the pull to separate. That doesn't make you judgmental. It makes you called. The deeper your calling, the greater your tension. And right now, you're living in the tension between what was and what is coming. You can feel it, can't you? That unsettled space, like something is shifting, but hasn't fully revealed itself yet. You're not where you used to be, but you're not fully where you're going, and it's frustrating. Sometimes it feels like failure. Sometimes it feels like you're being punished. But the truth is, you're in transition. And transition is always messy. It's the hallway between obedience and outcome. The space between surrender and reward. It's where your motives get purified. Your pace gets adjusted. Your faith gets tested. And in this place, it can feel like God is silent, but he's not. He's watching, measuring, strengthening, reordering things in your life to prepare you for the next level. If you were being forgotten, the fire would have stopped, but it hasn't. The pressure proves the process is still active. The opponent also whispers his favorite falsehoods during this strain. This is pointless. You're making it all up. You've missed too much to catch up. Everyone else is moving forward, but you. The last phases of dedication. Chosen one, do not be surprised by the intensity of the resistance you're feeling right now. After a moment of breakthrough, after a holy surrender, there's often a backlash, a tightening, a sudden wave of confusion, distraction, or fatigue. And it's not because something went wrong. It's because something went right. The spirit realm does not sit silent when a child of God steps into alignment. When you say yes to the call, when you renounce what was holding you down, when you shift into obedience, darkness reacts, not with thunder, but with subtle warfare. Emotional noise, doubts that creep back in with a different tone, anxieties that rise up out of nowhere, old wounds that suddenly feel fresh again. But this time you know better. You see it for what it is. Not a relapse, but a reaction. Not a sign to retreat, but a confirmation to keep going. Because what has just taken place in your life is not small. You've shifted spiritual structure. You've broken ties in the unseen. You've activated a new realm of clarity. And now the enemy is scrambling. He's hoping you won't recognize it. He's hoping you'll mistake this tension for failure, that you'll misread the pressure as punishment. But it's not. This pressure is proof hell is nervous. You see, when the enemy loses access, he shifts to strategy. He won't hit you the same way he did before. He'll disguise the attack in more familiar forms. A relationship that suddenly resurfaces, a temptation that once comforted you, an opportunity that seems good but leaves your spirit unsettled. He hopes you'll be distracted. He hopes you'll chase the next easy thing instead of enduring the refining God has started. But you're not who you used to be. The version of you that fell for it before no longer exists. And because of that, you now hold a power that darkness dreads. Discernment. Discernment is your shield now, and it must be sharpened in the quiet. You've said yes to the call. Now comes the deeper formation. Not in crowds, not in noise, but in the secret place, in the stillness, in the silence where God whispers identity and destiny into the depths of your being. This is where chosen ones are made, not in applause, not in titles, but in tension, in wilderness, in waiting. And that is exactly where you are now in the in-between. Heaven has confirmed your assignment, but earth is not yet caught up. You are walking with a word, but no full blueprint. You are burning with vision, but not yet surrounded by support. This is what the prophets knew, what the psalmist cried through, what Jesus himself walked in. You are not abandoned. You are becoming the unstoppable, selected individual. You are on the verge of something irrevocable, chosen one. Every step of the way, every silent prayer, every tear, and every silent surrender have been preparation. The old structures are collapsing. The old limitations are being lifted. What once held you back no longer has legal access. What once silenced you no longer has weight. And yet this moment demands something more profound than a reaction. Oh, don't believe it. You're not late. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're being forged. A version of you is emerging in this process. One that doesn't need outside confirmation to obey, that doesn't seek escape during delays, that doesn't water down conviction to maintain superficial peace, and that's being formed in the fire. You may not realize it, but there are people assigned to your obedience, people whose freedom is tied to your yes, people who don't even know your name yet, but who will one day thank God that you didn't fold, that you didn't hide, that you didn't walk away when it got too heavy. They're waiting on the other side of this tension, because if we don't give up, we will reap a harvest at the right time. Beloved, you're closer than you think. Even though your hands are tired and your heart is raw, your yes still has weight, your obedience still changes atmospheres, and your presence still disrupts the plans of darkness. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to stay in the fight. This middle ground you're in isn't a mistake. It's a sacred place, a proving ground, a birthing room, the corridor between who you were and who you're becoming. Don't hate it, don't rush it, and most importantly, don't quit in it. You're being sharpened, you're being tested, but more than that, you're being trusted, and heaven never gives out lightly. The obedient mantle. Chosen one. Take a deep breath and be still. Listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. Something is happening inside of you right now. Something eternal, something irreversible. You are crossing a threshold in the spirit. A line has been drawn, not by people, not by pain, but by heaven itself. You are not the same person who began this journey. What once weighed you down is now being burned off. What once bound you is now being broken. What once muted your voice is now losing its grip. There's a reason the warfare intensified, a reason the pressure pressed in closer. It's because the enemy knows what you're about to walk into. Heaven has issued a new mantle over your life. Not just an encouragement, not just a moment of comfort, but a divine marking, a fresh commissioning. You're no longer simply recovering from what happened. You are becoming what God had in mind before it ever did. You're entering into the next phase of your assignment, and it's going to require more than motivation. It will require clarity, conviction, and courage. But above all, it will require obedience, radical, no matter the cost. Obedience. The kind of obedience that breaks fear, that silences doubt, that leaves behind the familiar and dares to follow fire. You don't get here by accident. There are millions scrolling, millions distracted, millions who once heard God and turned back because it cost too much. But you stayed. You lingered. You listened. You didn't dismiss the weight you felt in your spirit. That alone is evidence that God has called you apart. And because of that, heaven is responding with a new order over your life. That order will require pruning. It will require you to walk away from some things that feel comfortable but are no longer covenant. It will require you to say yes without the full blueprint. It will require trust in the dark. But it will be worth it because what God is building in you cannot be rushed and it cannot be compromised. This is not about ambition. This is about assignment. The next phase will not look like the last. Where the previous season was about surviving, this one will be about stepping forward. Where the last chapter focused on healing, this one will focus on walking in authority. The time for hiding is over. The time for doubt is over. The time for small thinking and spiritual indecision is over. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Beloved, this is that moment. The light has come. The glory is rising. Not just around you, but in you. You're not waiting for confirmation anymore. You are standing in it. You are no longer wondering if you heard God. You're walking out what He already confirmed.